I stared at Dad's text message on my phone while sitting in my office at Pacific Regional Medical Center. The glow from my 3 computer monitors illuminated the words that shouldn't have hurt anymore, but somehow still did. Don't come to Christmas Eve. Marcus's fiancée is a pediatric surgeon. We're celebrating her success. It would be awkward having you there when everyone's congratulating a real doctor. A real doctor. I was the chief medical officer of a 847-bed Level 1 trauma center. I oversaw 2,847 medical professionals. I'd restructured 3 failing hospital systems in 7 years. Forbes Healthcare had named me one of their 40 under 40 healthcare innovators 6 months ago. The article sat framed in my assistant's office because I found it embarrassing to display in my own. But to Dad, I wasn't a real doctor. I typed back, understood. My assistant Rebecca knocked on my door. Dr. Thornton? The board wants your final recommendations on the pediatric surgery expansion by January 2nd. Also, we have the last round of interviews scheduled for the 26th. 3 candidates for the head of pediatric surgery position. Send me their files, I said, turning back to my screens where patient outcome data scrolled past. I'll review them tonight. What Dad didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I hadn't just become a doctor. I'd become the person who decided which doctors got hired at one of the most prestigious medical centers on the West Coast. Growing up, I was always in Marcus's shadow. He was the golden child, charismatic, athletic, president of everything. I was quiet, bookish, spending Friday nights in the library instead of at football games. Dad was a successful pharmaceutical sales rep who valued personality and presence. Marcus had both. I had neither. Emma's fine, Mom would tell relatives at gatherings. She studies a lot. Gets good grades. Marcus got recruited by 3 Division I schools. Dad would interrupt, clapping my brother on the shoulder. Full ride scholarships. That's real success. When I got into Johns Hopkins pre-med, Dad barely looked up from his tablet. That's nice, honey. Marcus, tell them about the state championship. Medical school was brutal. I worked emergency room shifts to supplement my loans while Marcus's college expenses were fully covered by Mom and Dad. Athletic scholarships don't cover everything, Dad explained when I asked why they couldn't help me too. Marcus needs to focus on football, not working. I graduated medical school with $340,000 in debt. Marcus graduated with a marketing degree, 0 debt, and a job at Dad's friend's company making $62,000 a year. So proud of both our kids. Dad posted on Facebook with 7 photos of Marcus at graduation and one of me that was blurry. My residency in hospital administration and healthcare management wasn't real medicine, according to Dad. You're not even treating patients anymore, he said when I explained my career path. What's the point of medical school if you're just going to push papers? I'm optimizing systems that help thousands of patients, I tried to explain. Marcus is dating a lawyer now, Mom interjected. Very successful firm downtown. That relationship lasted 4 months. Then there was the teacher, 6 months. Then the architect, 3 months. Each time, family dinners became showcases for Marcus's girlfriend's accomplishments while I sat quietly eating my mother's pot roast, answering the occasional, "How's the hospital job?" with "fine" before the conversation swiveled back to Marcus. When I became director of clinical operations at Seattle Memorial at 29, Dad asked if that meant I was finally treating patients again. When I was recruited to be chief medical officer at Pacific Regional at 32, one of the youngest CMOs in the country, Dad said, "That's nice. Marcus just got promoted to senior account manager." I stopped trying to share my accomplishments. They'd never be enough. I stopped going to every family dinner. They barely noticed. I bought a house in the hills overlooking the city. A beautiful 4-bedroom craftsman with a view of the water. I never invited them over. They never asked to see it. I dated occasionally, but my work consumed most of my time. Restructuring failing hospital systems, negotiating with insurance companies, implementing new patient care protocols. It was challenging, meaningful work that saved lives even if I wasn't the one holding the scalpel. But to my family, I was Emma the administrator. Emma the paper pusher. Emma who wasn't a real doctor. What my family didn't see was the empire I was building. Pacific Regional Medical Center had been failing when I arrived 3 years ago. Patient satisfaction scores were abysmal. Mortality rates were climbing. The hospital was hemorrhaging money, $47 million in losses annually. The previous CMO had been fired, and the board of directors was considering selling to a corporate healthcare conglomerate. Dr. Thornton, the board chair, had said during my interview, "We need someone who can save this hospital. Do you think you can do that?" I presented a 47-slide deck outlining exactly how I'd do it. They hired me the next day. Within 6 months, I'd restructured every clinical department. I fired 12 underperforming physicians, something the previous CMO had been too scared to do. I recruited specialists from across the country. I implemented evidence-based protocols that cut hospital-acquired infection rates by 64%. I negotiated new contracts with insurance providers that increased our reimbursement rates. Within 18 months, we were profitable again. Within 2 years, we were the highest-rated hospital in the region. The board gave me a $340,000 bonus. I paid off my medical school debt in full. They gave me stock options worth $1.2 million. I diversified into a portfolio that my financial advisor called impressively aggressive. They increased my salary to $485,000 annually, plus performance bonuses. Last year, my total compensation was $627,000. But more than the money, I had power. Real power. I decided which doctors got hired, which programs received funding, which departments expanded and which got consolidated. Insurance companies wanted meetings with me. Pharmaceutical reps courted me. Other hospitals tried to recruit me with offers I politely declined. I sat on medical boards. I spoke at healthcare conferences. I consulted for hospital systems across the country for fees that started at $15,000 per day. My professional reputation was impeccable. In the medical community, people knew exactly who Dr. Emma Thornton was. But at family dinners, I was still just Emma the administrator. Marcus brought Alexandria home for Thanksgiving. "She's a pediatric surgeon," Mom gushed on the phone beforehand. "Board certified. Works at Children's Medical Center downtown. Your father is just thrilled." I showed up with wine and homemade apple pie. Alexandria was already holding court in the living room, designer dress, perfect hair, telling animated stories about her surgical cases while Mom and Dad hung on every word. "Emma," Mom said when I arrived. "This is Alexandria Burke, Marcus's girlfriend. She's a pediatric surgeon." "Nice to meet you," I said, extending my hand. Alexandria's handshake was limp. Her eyes barely registered me before returning to Dad. As I was saying, the laparoscopic approach for pediatric appendectomies has really revolutionized our field. "Emma works at a hospital too," Mom offered weakly. "In administration." "Oh." Alexandria's smile was polite and dismissive. "That's nice. The people who do the paperwork are so important." Dad laughed. "Emma's not the hands-on type. Never has been. Marcus got all the people skills in the family." I ate my dinner quietly while Alexandria described a complex cardiac surgery she'd assisted on. The story was impressive. He was clearly talented. But the way she kept emphasizing certain points, "As a surgeon, you understand the pressure. Those of us who actually work with patients, real clinical medicine," made it clear she'd already been briefed on my career, and found it wanting. After dinner, I heard Alexandria talking to Marcus in the kitchen. "Your sister seems nice," she said. The "but" hung unspoken in the air. "Emma's always been different," Marcus said. "Not really a joiner, you know. Dad worries she's wasted her medical degree on administrative stuff." "It takes all kinds," Alexandria said with the kind of charitable tone people use when discussing someone they pity. "Not everyone has the temperament for real patient care." I left early, claiming morning meetings. No one tried very hard to make me stay. 3 weeks later came Dad's text about Christmas Eve. December 20th, Rebecca walked into my office with a strange expression. "Dr. Thornton, you need to see this." She handed me a resume and application for our head of pediatric surgery position. The position I'd created as part of our expansion plan. A position with a salary range of $380,000 to $450,000, full benefits, research budget, and access to cutting-edge facilities. The name at the top, Dr. Alexandria Burke. I read through her credentials carefully. Johns Hopkins Medical School. Pediatric surgery residency at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. 5 years of experience. Solid publication record. Strong references. Her qualifications are excellent, Rebecca said carefully. She's made it to the final 3 candidates. Interviews are scheduled for the 26th. I scanned her application essay. Professional. Articulate. She talked about her passion for pediatric care, her interest in academic medicine, her desire to build a world-class pediatric surgery program. She had no idea who the chief medical officer was. Our hospital's leadership wasn't plastered on the website. By design, I kept a low profile in local media. I did my job, got results, and avoided the spotlight. Most of the public-facing work was done by our CEO and our PR team. Alexandria Burke had applied to my hospital, made it through 3 rounds of interviews with my hiring committee, and was about to sit across from me for her final interview. The final interview where I made the ultimate hiring decision. Schedule her for 10 a.m. on the 26th, I said calmly. After the other 2 candidates. I'll want maximum time with each finalist. Rebecca's eyes flickered with understanding. She'd worked for me for 2 years. She knew exactly what Christmas Eve would be like for me. Will do, Dr. Thornton. I spent Christmas Eve alone in my house. I roasted a small chicken. I watched old movies. I ignored the photos Marcus posted on Instagram. Alexandria laughing with Mom, Dad giving a toast to our future daughter-in-law, the successful surgeon, Marcus's caption, finally someone who understands what real success looks like. #family first, #proud son. I texted Marcus Merry Christmas at 9 p.m. He responded at 11:47 p.m. Thanks, Em. Alex loved meeting everyone. December 26th arrived cold and clear. I dressed in my standard work attire, tailored navy suit, cream blouse, minimal jewelry. My white coat hung on the back of my office door, my name embroidered in navy thread. Emma Thornton, MD, Chief Medical Officer. The first 2 interviews went smoothly. Both candidates were excellent. Dr. Raymond Chen from Stanford had an impressive research background. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo from Mayo Clinic had outstanding surgical outcomes data. Rebecca buzzed my office at 2:47 p.m. Dr. Burke is here for her 3 p.m. interview. Give me 5 minutes, then bring her to my office. I pulled up Alexandria's file on my computer one more time. Everything was in order. Her references had been checked. Her credentials verified. Her surgical logs reviewed. On paper, she was an outstanding candidate. I closed the file and waited. At exactly 2:52 p.m., I heard voices in the hallway. Rebecca's professional tone. Right this way, Dr. Burke. Dr. Thornton is expecting you. Alexandria's confident voice. This is such a beautiful facility. I'm really excited about the opportunity. The CMO has done remarkable work here, Rebecca said. We've become one of the top-rated hospitals in the region under her leadership. That's wonderful, Alexandria said. I'm looking forward to meeting him. Her, Rebecca corrected gently. Pause. Oh, of course. Her. They stopped outside my door. Through the frosted glass I could see their silhouettes. Rebecca knocked. Dr. Thornton? Dr. Burke is here. Send her in. The door opened. Rebecca stepped aside. Alexandria walked in, professional smile in place, hand extended for a shake. He was looking at Rebecca, still talking. Thank you so much for... Then she turned and saw me. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion. Recognition. Disbelief. Then horror. Hello, Dr. Burke, I said calmly, standing behind my desk. Please have a seat. Her eyes went to the nameplate on my desk. Dr. Emma Thornton, Chief Medical Officer. Then to the credentials on my wall. Johns Hopkins Medical School diploma. Board certifications. Forbes 40 Under 40 framed article. Letters of commendation from the American Hospital Association. Then to my face. You. She started. Her voice came out strangled. You're the Chief Medical Officer, yes. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Please sit down, Dr. Burke. We have a lot to discuss. She didn't move. Her face had gone pale. Emma. I had no idea. That the paper pusher was the person you'd be interviewing with? I sat down, folding my hands on my desk. Yes, I gathered that. Shall we begin? I need to. She looked at the door. Can I have a moment? You can have several moments if you need them, I said. But you should know that this interview is being recorded for quality assurance purposes, as stated in the documentation you signed. The recording began when you entered this room. The color drained from her face completely. Have a seat, Dr. Burke. She sat. Her hands were shaking. I opened her file. Let's start with your qualifications. Very impressive resume. Johns Hopkins, that's where I went as well. How did you find the program? It was excellent. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Your residency at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. That's a top program. You worked with Dr. Morrison? Yes. He and I served on a task force together 2 years ago. Excellent surgeon. I'll be calling him as part of my reference check. I like to do personal calls with all final candidates. I'm sure he'll have wonderful things to say. Alexandria's hands clutched her purse. Dr. Thornton, I think we should. Let's talk about your surgical outcomes, I continued, turning to the data. I've reviewed your logs from Children's Medical Center. 347 procedures over 5 years. Complication rate of 2.1%. That's slightly above the national average of 1.8% for pediatric surgery. Can you walk me through your quality improvement initiatives to address that? She stared at me. The complication rate is within acceptable range. Acceptable isn't what we do here, Dr. Burke. We aim for exceptional. At Pacific Regional, our surgical complication rates are 0.9% across all departments. The head of pediatric surgery will be expected to not just meet but exceed national benchmarks. I made a note in her file. What strategies would you implement to improve your outcomes? Dr. Thornton. Her voice was stronger now, tinged with desperation. Can we please talk about what, Dr. Burke? About whether you're qualified for this position. Because that's what this interview is for. This is a $420,000 annual salary position with a $150,000 research budget and the opportunity to build a program from the ground up. It's the kind of position that defines careers. So yes, let's talk about whether you're the right fit. She flinched. I turned to the next page. Your application essay mentions your passion for academic medicine. Tell me about your research agenda. I've been focusing on minimally invasive techniques. Yes, I saw your publications. 2 papers in the last 3 years. Both in mid-tier journals. The head of pediatric surgery at Pacific Regional would be expected to publish in top-tier journals. JAMA Surgery, New England Journal of Medicine, Annals of Surgery. They'd be expected to bring in competitive grant funding. They'd be expected to mentor residents and fellows. I looked up at her. Do you have experience with fellowship program development? Limited experience, but limited. I made another note. This position requires someone who can hit the ground running. Who can build not just a surgical service but an academic department. Who has the vision, the leadership skills, and the reputation to attract top talent. I closed her file. Tell me why you think you're that person. Alexandria's jaw tightened. I could see her trying to decide between anger and panic. I have 5 years of excellent clinical experience. Above average clinical experience, I corrected. Your outcomes are good, Dr. Burke. Not excellent. Good. And this hospital doesn't settle for good. I've been working at a community hospital, she said, heat entering her voice. The resources at Children's Medical Center are limited compared to a place like this. Dr. Okonkwo came from Mayo Clinic, I said. Dr. Chin came from Stanford. Both have published in top journals. Both have developed innovative surgical techniques. Both have mentored dozens of residents. Both have complication rates below 1%. I leaned back in my chair. You're competing against the best, Dr. Burke. I need you to tell me why I should choose you over them. She stood up suddenly. You know what? I don't think this is a fair interview. You clearly have some kind of personal. Sit down, Dr. Burke. My voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. It was the voice that had fired inadequate physicians. The voice that had restructured entire departments. The voice that hospital administrators across the country paid $15,000 a day to hear. She sat. Let me be very clear, I said. My personal life and my professional responsibilities are completely separate. You are being evaluated solely on your qualifications, your experience, and your ability to lead a pediatric surgery department. If you feel the process is unfair, you're welcome to withdraw your application. I don't want to withdraw. Then answer the question. Why should I hire you? She took a shaky breath. I'm a good surgeon. I care about my patients. I want to build something meaningful. So do the other candidates. I opened her file again. Let's talk about leadership. Have you ever managed a team larger than 2 residents? No, but have you ever been responsible for a departmental budget? I've had input on equipment purchases. Have you ever recruited physicians from competing institutions? No. Have you ever negotiated with insurance companies for better reimbursement rates for complex procedures? That's not typically a surgeon's responsibility. It is here. The head of pediatric surgery will have full P&L responsibility for their department. They'll be expected to run it like a business while maintaining the highest clinical standards. I looked at her directly. Dr. Burke, you're an adequate surgeon applying for a leadership position that requires excellence. Your clinical skills are satisfactory, but your leadership experience is minimal. Your research portfolio is thin. Your outcomes are merely acceptable. And you've demonstrated no evidence that you understand what it takes to build and run a department at an elite medical center. Her face flushed red. This is because of Marcus. This has nothing to do with Marcus, I said coldly. This is about whether you're qualified for this position. And based on this interview, I'm not convinced you are. You're punishing me because of your family. I'm evaluating you based on the same criteria I use for every candidate. I stood up. Dr. Burke, I think we're done here. Wait. She stood too, panic clear on her face now. Please. I need this job. The opportunity at Pacific Regional. It's incredible. I know I came across badly at Thanksgiving. This isn't about Thanksgiving. But I'm a good doctor. I really am. I care about my patients. I work hard. I just need a chance to prove myself at a hospital like this. A hospital like this requires doctors who are already proven, I said. We don't have time to give people chances to catch up. You can't reject me because of a family dinner. I can reject you because your qualifications don't meet our standards. I walked to the door, opened it. Rebecca was waiting in the hallway. Rebecca, please escort Dr. Burke out. Our interview is concluded. Dr. Thornton. Thank you for your time, Dr. Burke. We'll be making our final hiring decision by January 2nd. You'll receive notification via email either way. She didn't move. Her eyes were filled with tears now. Please don't do this. Rebecca. My assistant stepped forward. Dr. Burke, this way please. Alexandria looked at me one last time. Marcus is going to hear about this. I'm sure he will, I said calmly. Goodbye, Dr. Burke. She walked out, Rebecca guiding her toward the elevators. I heard her voice in the hallway rising in pitch. This is discrimination. She can't do this because of personal. I closed my door. My hands were perfectly steady as I returned to my desk and opened my email. I typed quickly. To Board of Directors Hiring Committee Subject. Head of Pediatric Surgery Final Recommendation Date. December 26, 3:47 p.m. After completing final interviews with all 3 candidates, I recommend we extend an offer to Dr. Patricia Okonkwo. Her qualifications, leadership experience and research portfolio make her the strongest candidate. Dr. Chin is an excellent second choice if Dr. Okonkwo declines. Dr. Burke does not meet our standards for this position. I do not recommend extending an offer. Detailed interview notes and evaluation matrices are attached. I will be available to discuss this recommendation at tomorrow's board meeting. Regards, Emma Thornton, MD Chief Medical Officer. I hit send. My phone rang at 5:47 p.m. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 6:02 p.m. Again at 6:15 p.m. At 6:23 p.m., the voicemail notification appeared. I put it on speaker. Emma, what the hell did you do? Alexandria came home crying. She said you sabotaged her interview because of some family grudge. That's insane. You can't mix family and work like that. Call me back. Now. I deleted the voicemail. At 7:14 p.m. Mom called. Emma honey, Alexandria is very upset. She says you were hostile during her interview. I know you two might have gotten off on the wrong foot, but this is Marcus's fiancée. Can't you just help her get the job? For family. I hung up without answering. At 8:02 p.m. Dad called. I answered. Emma, I just heard what happened. You need to fix this. Hello, Dad. How was your Christmas Eve? Don't be cute. Alexandria said you were awful to her in the interview. Asking impossible questions, making her feel incompetent. I asked her standard interview questions for a head of department position. She's a qualified surgeon. She's an adequately skilled surgeon with minimal leadership experience, below-average outcomes and a thin research portfolio. She's not qualified for the position. You're rejecting her because she's dating Marcus. I'm rejecting her because she doesn't meet our standards. Which, as Chief Medical Officer, is my job. Silence on the other end. Then, Chief Medical Officer? Stat. That's my title. Has been for 3 years. I thought. You said you were in administration. I am in administration. I'm the Chief Medical Officer. I run the entire clinical operation of an 847-bed hospital. I oversee 2,847 employees. I make hiring and firing decisions for every clinical position, including department heads. Kept my voice level. Alexandria Burke applied for a position at my hospital. I interviewed her. She's not qualified. End of story. Emma, you can't do this. She's going to be family. Then she should have been more careful about dismissing administrative roles as just paperwork, and people like me as not real doctors. I paused. How much of her interview process do you think was about her qualifications, and how much was her assuming she could leverage a family connection she didn't even know existed? That's not fair. What's not fair is expecting me to compromise my professional standards to make your future daughter-in-law feel better about herself. I have 2 other candidates who are genuinely excellent. I'm hiring one of them. Your mother and I are very disappointed. I'm sure you are. You've been disappointed in me my entire life. This changes nothing. I stood up from my couch, walked to my window overlooking the city. Dad, I need to go. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning where I'm presenting my hiring recommendation. Emma. Good night, Dad. I hung up. The phone calls continued through the evening. Marcus left 3 more voicemails, each angrier than the last. Mom sent a series of texts ranging from pleading, please reconsider for family unity, to accusatory, this is cruel and petty. At 9:47 p.m., a number I didn't recognize called. I answered. Dr. Thornton? A woman's voice, shaking with rage. This is Alexandria Burke. You can't do this. I'm going to file a complaint. With whom? I asked calmly. The board of directors? I report directly to them and they trust my hiring recommendations implicitly. The medical licensing board? I conducted a professional interview and made a hiring decision based on qualifications. Human resources? The entire interview was recorded and my questions were identical to those asked of all candidates. I paused. Dr. Burke, if you file a complaint, it will be reviewed. And what that review will show is that you assumed personal connections would substitute for professional qualifications. That's not a narrative that will help your career. You're doing this because you're jealous. I'm doing this because you're not qualified. If you were exceptional, I would have hired you regardless of any personal history. But you're not exceptional. You're average. And I don't hire average. He was crying now. I'm a good surgeon. Then you'll find a position that matches your skill level. Just not here. I kept my voice neutral, professional. I suggest you focus on improving your outcomes, building your research portfolio and gaining leadership experience. In 5 years, if you've accomplished those things, you're welcome to reapply. 5 years. Good luck, Dr. Burke. I hung up. December 27th, 9 a.m. The Board of Directors conference room on the executive floor. 12 board members, our CEO, our CFO and me. Dr. Thornton, the board chair said, walk us through your recommendation for head of pediatric surgery. I opened my presentation. 3 slides for each candidate. Credentials, interview performance, evaluation matrix. Dr. Chin is excellent. Stanford trained, innovative surgical techniques, strong research. He'd be a solid hire. Dr. Okonkwo is exceptional. Mayo Clinic, outstanding outcomes, Proven leadership, established research program. She's my top recommendation. And Dr. Burke? One of the board members asked. I see she made it to the final round. Dr. Burke has adequate clinical skills but lacks the leadership experience and research profile we need. Her surgical complication rate is 2.1%, above our target. She's published 2 papers in mid-tier journals in 5 years. She has no experience managing budgets or teams larger than 2 residents. She doesn't meet our standards. Noted, the board chair said. I move that we extend an offer to Dr. Okonkwo at $420,000 annually plus the standard benefits package and research budget. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Dr. Thornton, reach out to Dr. Okonkwo today. Let's get this done. Meeting adjourned at 9:47 a.m. I called Dr. Okonkwo from my office at 10:15 a.m. Dr. Okonkwo, this is Dr. Emma Thornton from Pacific Regional Medical Center. I'm pleased to offer you the position of head of pediatric surgery. She accepted on the spot. The next family dinner was scheduled for New Year's Eve. I wasn't planning to go, but Mom called and said, please come. We need to talk as a family. I arrived at 6 p.m. The tension was immediate. Marcus was furious. You sabotaged Alex's career. I made a hiring decision based on qualifications. You humiliated her. I interviewed her the same way I interview every candidate. Dad stepped in. Emma, you could have helped her. Help her by hiring someone underqualified. That's not how I do my job. She's going to be family. Marcus shouted. Then she should have thought about that before dismissing what I do as paperwork, and implying I wasn't a real doctor. Mom wrung her hands. Can't we all just get along? I get along fine with people who respect me, I said. Alexandria didn't respect me. She made that clear at Thanksgiving. Now she's learned that the person she dismissed actually had power over her career trajectory. That's not my problem. That's hers. You're being vindictive. Marcus yelled. I turned to him. Let me ask you something, Marcus. Did Alexandria tell you about her surgical complication rate? About her limited research? About her lack of leadership experience? Or did she just tell you that I was mean to her? He faltered. She said you asked impossible questions. I asked about her quality improvement initiatives, her research agenda, and her leadership philosophy. The same questions I ask every department head candidate. She couldn't answer them adequately because she hasn't thought about them. She's been skating by on adequate performance at a community hospital, and she thought a prestigious position would just fall into her lap because she has good credentials. I looked around the room. I built that hospital's reputation. I'm not going to damage it by hiring someone underqualified just because she's dating my brother. She's devastated, Mom said quietly. Then she'll learn from this and do better next time. That's how careers work. Dad's face was red. You've always been difficult, Emma. Always thought you were better than everyone. No, Dad. I just am better. At my job. Which you would know if you'd ever paid attention. I picked up my purse. I came because Mom asked. I've said what I needed to say. I'm leaving now. Emma, wait, Mom started. I'm done waiting, Mom. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being dismissed. I'm the chief medical officer of one of the best hospitals in the region. I make more in a year than Dad has ever made. I've been featured in Forbes. I speak at national conferences. I save lives by making systems that help thousands of patients. And none of you have ever asked me about it. Not once. I looked at Marcus. You want to be angry at someone? Be angry at yourself for dating someone who judges people based on their job titles instead of their character. Be angry at Alexandria for assuming connections matter more than competence. But don't be angry at me for doing my job with integrity. I walked out. Marcus followed me to my car. Alex and I are probably going to break up because of this. No, Marcus. You're probably going to break up because she's embarrassed and looking for someone to blame. If she was a quality person, she'd take this as a learning experience. I unlocked my car. But that's not my problem. That's yours. I can't believe you're my sister. I can't believe it took you 35 years to realize I'm good at what I do. I got in my car. Happy New Year, Marcus. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo started at Pacific Regional on February 1st. Within 3 months, she'd built a pediatric surgery program that became the regional referral center. Our pediatric surgical outcomes became the best in the state. Alexandria Burke stayed at Children's Medical Center. I heard through professional networks that she'd started focusing more on quality improvement and was pursuing additional leadership training. Good for her. Marcus and Alexandria broke up in March. According to Mom, Alexandria needed space to focus on her career. Marcus was single again and apparently using the experience to reflect on what he really wants. I got promoted to Executive Vice President of Clinical Operations in April with a salary of $645,000 and expanded responsibilities across our entire health system. 4 hospitals, 23 clinics. Forbes Healthcare did a feature article, How Dr. Emma Thornton Built One of America's Most Successful Hospital Systems. They interviewed me for 6 hours. The article was 12 pages long. Dad texted me when it came out. Saw the Forbes article. Very impressive. Can we have lunch? I texted back. I'm free Tuesday at noon. My office. He came. He saw the view from the executive floor. He saw my name on the door. He saw the awards on my wall. He saw the team of people who reported to me, all of them calling me Dr. Thornton with genuine respect. I didn't know, he said quietly over our sandwiches in the executive dining room. I didn't know any of this. I tried to tell you. For years. You didn't listen. I thought. He trailed off. I thought you were just in administration. Like a hospital manager. I am a hospital manager. I manage the clinical operations of a 4-hospital system. That's what a chief medical officer does. I took a sip of my water. You thought administration meant filing paperwork because you didn't understand what the job actually entailed. You valued Marcus's marketing job over my role restructuring failing hospital systems because one sounded more prestigious to you than the other. I was wrong. Yes, you were. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Can we start over? Dad asked. No, I said. We can start from here. From the truth. I'm not the invisible daughter anymore. I'm not the not real doctor anymore. I'm Dr. Emma Thornton and I've built something remarkable. If you want to be part of my life, you need to respect that. You need to see me. I see you now. Good, I said. That's a start. Mom slowly started asking me real questions about my work. Not just, how's the hospital job? But, tell me about the restructuring project you mentioned, and what does a chief medical officer actually do? Marcus took longer. But eventually he called. I'm sorry, he said. For never asking. For never caring. For assuming your job was less important than mine. Thank you, I said. Can I take you to dinner? Let you actually tell me about your work. I'd like that. We met the following week. I talked for 3 hours about hospital systems, patient outcomes, leadership challenges, the satisfaction of saving a failing institution. He listened. I had no idea, he said. I had no idea you were doing any of this. I know. I was a terrible brother. You were an oblivious brother. But you're here now. That counts for something. The family dynamics didn't magically heal. These things never do. But they shifted. Fully. Incrementally. I set boundaries. I showed up when I wanted to, not when I was expected to. I talked about my work when asked and I left when the conversation turned dismissive. I built the life I wanted. The career I'd earned. The respect I deserved. And when people asked me what I did for a living, I didn't minimize anymore. I'm the Chief Medical Officer and Executive Vice President of Clinical Operations for Pacific Regional Health System. I oversee clinical operations for 4 hospitals and 23 clinics. I build systems that save lives. Most people were impressed. My family finally was too. But the most important person who was impressed? Me. I looked in the mirror and saw Dr. Emma Thornton. Not the invisible daughter. Not the paper pusher. Not the not real doctor. The real doctor who built an empire while everyone was too busy dismissing her to notice. And that was enough.